Hey folks, Joe Valley here from the Quiet Light Podcast. Thanks for tuning in again this week. Appreciate it. As you all know, I am an entrepreneur first. I've built, bought, and sold my own online businesses. Been self-employed since 1997, I think. I think it's 6 altogether if you count the built, bought, and sold. And my latest venture, of course, is Quiet Light Brokerage. Been with the team since 2010. Mark and I are now business partners, and Mark is, of course, the co-host of the Quiet Light Podcast. He's not here. It's just me. Today's podcast is sponsored by Quiet Light. It's not Quiet Light Brokerage anymore. It's just Quiet Light. Quiet Light Advisors, whatever you want to call us, it's Quiet Light. QuietLight.com now is the new landing page. You can still go to Quiet Light Brokerage and it will redirect, but give it a shot. QuietLight.com. It's, shorter and simpler, easy to spell. So we are a middle market M&A firm, largest deal in 2020 at $25 million. The smallest, just $16,000 and some change. That was a pocket listing, but all niches, SaaS content, physical products, you name it, we've done it. And we've got a team now of 12 advisors altogether. And Joe Valley didn't turn his phone off. You heard that ring, folks. Sorry about that. I always tell our guests to turn theirs off, but I didn't turn mine off today. My apologies. But generally speaking, we don't edit. So we're going to go live and we're going to screw up and we're going to have some fun. Speaking of fun, today's guest is Troy Johnston from Seller.Tools. Actually, it's Seller.Tools, which is kind of cool. And it's a software program for Amazon sellers. Been around for several years. Troy and I talked last fall, and I was so impressed. I said, we got to have you on the podcast because there's a lot of tools out there. And I'm a tools guy, kind of, but Troy is really a tool guy. He gets it. He understands what tools are for and understands the necessity of all of them. Not just one tool, but you got to have multiple tools. So Troy, you're going to tell us all about that. Thanks for joining the Quiet Light Podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Appreciate you having me on. I'm definitely a tool guy. Definitely a big fan of utilizing tools as an Amazon seller, which I am myself. And I think this year, even more so, it's going to be 2021 and for the foreseeable future, it's going to be essential for new brands and those that are looking to kind of thrive and scale on the platform.
Back in the day, and that's what guys with great chin on their hair say, I didn't really have a whole lot of tools when I was a media buyer. But today, and I did it on radio, but today, the amount of data that you need to make the decisions that you have to make in the online digital world is just incredible. And I see P&Ls on a regular basis, Troy, and I see an entire list of tools, and I have them list them out in the packages so that everybody can see the different tools that they're using. And sometimes, people have tried some of those tools and they go, okay, that's a cost savings, or, oh, that's a good idea. I should get that as well. And get pretty impressed with all the different tools that some people utilize. And you would think that it's this one or that one. And more often than not, as we talked about, it's this one and that one. Even though they're similar in nature, there are differences between different tools. Seller.Tools is familiar or similar in some ways to some of the others out there. The most well-known ones are Jungle Scout and Helium 10, both of who have been on the Quiet Light podcast. Talk to us about the differentiations between Seller.Tools and what you do and who your real audience is and what you provide, things like that.
Yeah, I think really appreciating the nuances of tools is important for a seller to really get the most value and utility. If there is a tool that you find that, okay, this data really resonates with me, the accuracy from which I can make informed decisions for product research and product sourcing, that's a really important pillar of an Amazon business, and it's worth investing the relatively nominal fee. We're talking about $100 a month, $50 a month, relatively nominal to fill such an important need. And if you sell on Amazon, really businesses at any scale, the whole idea is that the leverage is baked in. So you have these pillars, these really crucial pieces of exceptional product optimization, and then what's your strategy for ranking and reviews? What's sort of your way of exploiting that advantage and leverage on Amazon? And tools, they do better in certain pillars. There are some that are a little bit better at the optimization. We're really great on the ranking and review side when it comes to trying to automate those activities, building an audience, leveraging different tools, tactics like Manychat. That pillar is something we're really strong in. We may be a little bit lighter on the product resource, the product sourcing side. And so I think it's important for a sort of a business owner having that 1,000-foot view of saying, okay, if I put buckets in my business and then I want to invest strategically in those buckets, what tools and their feature set gives me a more complete competitive advantage? And that's the other thing too, is I think a lot of sellers kind of find themselves gravitating towards tools if they see others maybe utilizing them, which there's nothing wrong, but figure out when you're on a platform, where can you still exploit a competitive advantage? Where's your point of difference? I think that parity, that potential for commoditization is where a lot of sellers get frustrated too, is because they're maybe running into the same process and running through the same steps. But yeah, you sort of have to appreciate that nuance across tools. And then once you're within a tool, what am I doing differently? How am I utilizing this to the greatest effect for an advantage?
Yeah, you said that one of your sweet spots is rankings and reviews. Did you develop that because you were a 7-figure seller? I think we've talked about, right? Mm-hmm. Do you still have your separate brand and seller account?
Yep. Okay. We do right now. So I'm actively running a brand and advising a few. But yeah, that's really where our focus has been as part of the Seller.Tools team. We're all still actively selling.
Okay.
And
that helps, I would think, because you're using your own. So based upon the fact that it's rankings and reviews, obviously most of your clients are pretty well established Amazon sellers.
Yeah. Usually they've got that foundation set and they're sort of thinking about sort of beyond maintenance. They're looking at, okay, what's next? What can I be doing differently? And growing on the platform, and then kind of removing from competition. They're seeing this e-commerce boom as much as anybody else. And on Amazon, there's a certain set of keywords. There's not scarcity, but really, there's only so many competitors that can earn that top spot for all of this search volume, this demand, this buyer intent that shows up on Amazon.
How do you determine what to focus on next and what to develop next? Is it simply what you discover from your own 7-figure seller accounts and the things that you would like to develop for yourself and therefore they're good for others? Or is it a combination of that and new policies within Amazon and things of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, especially at Seller.Tools, it's followed this journey of really scratching some of our own itches. When we started to build tools and features and automations over Manychat, we were all using it ourselves. It was a core element of our business. And so we were developing APIs and these really technical things. And in terms of features, they were really sophisticated, but the outcomes they provided, the things that they did for us in our business were just they were so powerful, so effective. It created a unique challenge for us at that time for Seller.Tools. But now I think with the evolution, one of the things that we've really learned is, yeah, it's really great to solve problems at the 7-figure, 8-figure level. But we know as a platform, as a suite of tools, that's a smaller piece of the pie. We have so many people coming in, starting their brands, laying that foundation that we have to make it really approachable and easy for them as well. But at the end of the day, the truth is that brand new seller, as long as they're bringing a quality product and getting some of the optimization foundation pieces right, their problems and their challenges are the same as that 8-figure seller. It's just ranking and review. If you're on Amazon, it's traffic and conversions, to give it kind of the digital marketing terminology. That really should be your focus. Yeah.
I'm a digital marketer. It's all over my brain right now, by the way, because I'm reading Molly's book, Click Happy. Great book, by the way, folks. Click Happy, Molly Pittman. Good stuff in there. In regards to Manychat and outside traffic and rankings and reviews, can you tell the folks that are listening that maybe are not familiar with Manychat and why you've mentioned it a couple of times and the integration there and what you do in terms of rankings and reviews, and what are the options if they don't have Manychat as a tool and use their services?
Yeah. So Manychat, it's a tool that allows you to use Facebook Messenger's platform. And it's kind of grown from that recently with a lot of changes where now they've added in SMS, they've added an email. So it's sort of a multi-channel, omni-channel communication platform is essentially what it is. And the benefits for an Amazon seller is it helps you to begin building an audience, which is a really powerful asset. And then it allows you to engage and support that audience, but also direct them for different ranking initiatives. So launching a brand new product, relaunching for winning new keywords. And then also just because you can engage with your customers, it makes it far more seamless to request reviews. That's the big challenge we see sellers maybe not using Manychat at all, is if you're relying on buyer seller messaging, kind of the older ways in which you could engage customers, many of which have opted out kind of en masse. They're not even getting your emails. Those are sort of the old ways of hoping that you can get a customer to come back and leave some feedback.
Let me ask you a dumb question here, and it's because I'm not an Amazon seller. There may be buyers that are thinking, they want to buy a business, or maybe, people out there that own businesses that are not doing this yet. But how is it that you can reach out to the Manychat list and know that there actually is somebody that bought your product through Amazon recently when you're asking for reviews? And then we'll get into the fact whether that's against terms of services or not, and how you get around it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, there's a few different ways. So let's say product inserts, very popular strategy, a way in which you can follow up with your customers, ask them to sign up for a warranty, give them a resource that helps them better use your product or address FAQs. And what you can add to that insert is a QR code, which if a customer scans that, is brought into Manychat. And then of course, from there, you can deliver that value. You can request that review. You can offer a free product as any type of value add as an example.
So it's give me a 5-star review and I will give you this product for free. And that's good?
No, not exactly.
Not exactly. All right. Okay.
The way that I term it, and sometimes when people hear words like Manychat and using chat marketing and that type of thing for Amazon sellers, is I term it the way of like describing it just as cars. And there's totally different cars out there, right? A Ford Fiesta is totally different than like a Tesla, right? And so you sort of have to view it as the details matter. The way you execute it matters. And there are instances of more, let's say, black hat, less TOS friendly executions of using chat marketing and Manychat. Then there's very careful, very cautious, very customer centric ways to do it, which is a great way to start. And that's where, if we take our insert example, somebody scans a QR code and maybe you give them an ebook that says, here's common questions that customers have about our products. Here's how to best use it. Here's a video that shows you in depth how to make sure you have the absolute best experience with our product. And maybe you leave it there.
And that's an insert that's in the package that goes out from the FBA. Well,
correct.
Why is it that Amazon doesn't just disallow that? Why are they allowing inserts so that people can reach out to the customers directly when Amazon says that they're their customers? I know that's not the general topic of this conversation, but I'm curious. And don't you think they'll do that at some point?
I think it's really tricky. The precedent that's been set, I mean, you have to almost think of it like, when you buy a pair of Sony headphones or you buy an Apple product, should they be allowed to reference their website or mention any promotions, any discounts, any loyalty, any warranties, any way that they're directing you to complete an action or get back in touch or engage with that brand in any way is sort of the same outcome, right? We're sort of getting to that same place. So it's a really murky precedent that's already been set that would have to be, the subjectivity of it would have to be clarified from Amazon, and there would have to be fair play, right? We can't let Sony do something, but then just because you're a new brand, you're a mom and pop shop, well, you get preferential, harsher treatment. It's really sort of it's nuanced for sure, but this is sort of a good backing for new sellers to sort of say, hey, you got to play fair here. And there can't be preferential treatment where I've got to discern vague language to execute strategies in which maybe I'm just trying to give a great customer experience.
Ultimately, that's what you want to do.
Exactly.
You're going to wind up with that great review if you give that great customer experience. And take
exactly. And that's,
go ahead.
And I would just reinforce that point is if you want to use chat marketing, you could just simply think, what is just going to make sure that the buying experience is exceptional? I'm not thinking about creative ways of asking for reviews. I'm not thinking of incentivizing for reviews. I'm just simply saying, hey, we've analyzed our reviews. We've seen what kind of feedback we got maybe before we even launched our product. Let's address it at that point of contact to where every single customer who buys our product will see our insert, will have the opportunity to engage with that value. And that's your starting place. And what's really cool is then you also have that customer in your Manychat list that can be re-engaged, can lead to potential lookalike audience. So you know what that customer avatar looks like, and then you can serve up additional offers, promotions to a similar audience. and then that snowball starts rolling. So that's where it gets really fun and cool, because in contrast to that, you've got maybe sellers that are focusing purely on Amazon PPC. It's pay to play. You have no idea, who you're offering products to. You're just putting billboards on Amazon, which is great for maybe short-term ROI, but there's no longevity there. There's no asset building. There's no defining of your customer avatar.
Do you not spend any money in sponsored ads inside your own accounts?
I do.
Basis? You do.
I do, but this is where DSP really comes into play, where Amazon has sort of put behind
and DSP stands for display. No, what's that stand for?
Oh man, you're gonna put me on the spot.
Yeah, good. I'm glad I did, and I didn't know the answer. Neither do you. DSP. Yeah, okay.
I know. I've literally logged into the dashboard today.
A general description, not what the letters stand for, but what is DSP?
It's essentially more elevated Amazon PPC. It gives you a wider variety of ad types that you can deliver, and the data is exceptional. It gives you audience insights, so you can really know your demographic data, and that's the type of stuff we dive into. Is then we know who we're talking to, who is responding to our ads, what's performing. It's far less, as much data is there for sponsored ads and sponsored products. It's just not as insightful. And when you start knowing, okay, this demographic.
It's smart that they're doing that and they're sharing that, right? Because you can then improve your ads and the conversion rate and drive more revenue, and that's going to help Amazon. It's very smart. They just have to do it in a way where they're still protecting themselves and that they own the customer. But they've got to evolve, because otherwise everybody's going to spend all their money on Facebook, where they get all the information about the customer. And really, you get a lot of targeted information on the customer through other platforms compared to Amazon, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do you? Yeah. Okay. So you've mentioned Manychat plenty of times. Is that the sole integration with Seller.Tools, or is it just is that a jacuzzi term that you're using now, where it's everybody means hot tub, but they're saying jacuzzi? You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, it's sort of the it's the tool from which because really our feature set is focused on our API, and what our API allows sellers to do is kind of open up their data, allows them to do more with the data that they have at their fingertips. And so Manychat is really just the tool to be able to utilize that. Now you can use it with landing pages. We do things with Zapier. Our API can kind of be integrated with a wide variety of tools, but Manychat for us is kind of like it checks off so many boxes. It allows us to do all of ranking, reviews, audience building, more audience insights. Because again, when somebody comes in from Facebook Messenger, that's pretty illuminating, because you see their picture, their name, their location. You start really painting that picture on an individual basis, and then on a more macro scale as you're utilizing it more completely. So it's really just the tool. Where we're taking things and where the evolution, where we see sellers kind of going, and Manychat has kind of shown their hand on this as well, is being able to do more omni-channel marketing. So bringing in SMS, email to a degree. It's sort of a tried and true method. But for us, things like SMS, the open rates, the click-through rates, assuming a compelling offer and an exceptional product, really powerful, really powerful.
I was poking around on your website, and it looks like you share some advice and ideas on marketing and some of the experiences that you have beyond just saying, hey, use our software. Can you address that in terms of, do you have any case studies and things that you've shown that have helped people with the different tools and the different methodologies in terms of reaching customers in omni-channel ways?
Yeah, I would say on the case, and this is where we have a few things that are kind of cooking, but in this vein, where we should have more sort of data, I would say, to reflect some of the changes. We've got really compelling graphs of review capture going up quite considerably once you deploy something like a Manychat strategy. But
what are we talking about? Because if I think I've got a listing that's going to launch next week. All right. So by the time this airs, it's already launched and hopefully already under letter of intent. Mm-hmm. And they've got, 5,000 reviews. It's a lot. How big of a dramatic jump do you see in reviews? And is it, what's a good review count ratio? I guess it's a percentage. So if you've had 1,000 sales in a month, how many reviews would you expect to get with your service versus without your service. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually a unique challenge too, because you also want to make sure you're not on Amazon's radar as a sales to review ratio. This is something we were seeing in terms of flags being raised by Amazon and them saying, wait, you're all of a sudden getting way too many reviews relative to your sales. And we tied that into specific categories. But to be honest, there were times where it almost had no rhyme or reason. It was literally something triggered to Amazon, whether it was the age of the account, the type of product and category. And so our working hypothesis was sales to reviews as a ratio in a specific category. What that's translated to in terms of how we orient ourselves and kind of recommend is not pushing for anything over 15, 20% of your reviews being captured on a per order basis. Once you start getting past that, you do run the risk of potentially getting flagged, seeing review wipes.
That seems like a really high number for me, and I'm not a seller, so that's probably just my inexperience. But when I know somebody's selling 1,000 units a month of something, and I see those quite often, that means 150 new reviews every single month. Mm-hmm. I guess it maybe if I'm seeing 5,000 reviews, I guess it's not all that much. What are you seeing in terms of a review count as a percentage, right? So you're saying 15%. You may trigger some bots to punish you if you get above that. What are you seeing before people use your service versus after they use your service in terms of a jump?
Yeah, I mean, I think the some of the more anecdotal, I would say, feedback is hovering closer to about a third of that, around 4 to 5%, where they could see that from mostly what we see again is buyer seller messaging. Amazon has added the review requests, and that's helped. That's sort of raised things a little bit. It's a feature that we have, but we know it's more of a backstop. It's kind of like a safety net as opposed to being more proactive and realizing. With something like an insert, you have literally every transaction as an opportunity to re-engage or direct that customer to leave a review.
So what is that going to do? If you can jump your review count by 4 or 5%, what is that going to do for your conversion rates and your revenues?
Yeah, it's exceptional. I mean, then the review count itself or the star rating becomes very crucial. I mean, this is where from 4.5 to 4 stars, you're talking about 20% reduction in traffic and sales. I mean, it's quite considerable.
Why would that reduce traffic? Is it an algorithm within Amazon?
Well, you've got to think of it from when you run or complete a search on Amazon. There's really 3 things that you look at on any one product. You have the main image, you have 4 things. Excuse me, the image, the title, the price, and then the review count. And so you've got these 4 variables that really equate to whether you earn that click. And so, yeah, it really does boil down to, and when you run things like DSP, where you have an opportunity to more actively display reviews, it can fall flat when you are the 4-star option relative to 4.5, 5-star, again, that can outperform 4.5 stars product as well.
So if you've got 4.5 or 5 stars, you're going to get clicked on more, and therefore Amazon's going to reward you more and put you at the top of organic rankings more.
Yeah, we don't see ranking being impacted directly, or let's say review rating being a ranking factor. But in terms of the customer, how the customer interacts or potentially interacts with the listing can be impacted.
Okay, so we're going to see a higher conversion rate. Simple as that. So right. 4 or 5% lift is going to give you a much higher conversion rate, because you're going to have more reviews. You're going to have, and then you've got to deal with how do you get from 4 stars to 4.5? Is there a service within what you do to help people with that? Do you reach out and beg for that extra half star? Dealing with negative reviews. What can people really do in that regard without breaking terms of services?
Yeah. I'm going to not surprise you here and say Manychat's a great way to do this too. And there's ways in which, and I alluded to a seller to it today, is creating an MCF order through a Manychat flow. And what that
MCF,
means is,
what's that stand for?
Multi-channel fulfillment.
Good. You got that one. You nailed it. You nailed it. Multi-channel fulfillment. Okay.
Yes. That's it's essentially just a glorified way of saying, if you go into your FBA inventory and send a product to a customer, you incur a fee, but you can send them a free product. What's really cool about how you could use that with Manychat is, let's say you have a sense, or a customer's having a bad experience. Well, you can send them through this Manychat flow. They can populate everything that you need, or FBA needs, to fulfill that CF order. And a customer supporting themselves, they're doing it immediately. There's no human error, human delays, because they're doing it themselves. And then they can get sent a product, and it mitigates that negative review. So instead of you dealing with a 1-2 star review, you have now a happy customer who supported themselves, and you also know who they are because they're in Messenger. You see their name, face, location, all that pertinent information. It's really powerful. It's really powerful to be able to do that.
Is it one click and they can update their review and that kind of thing? Because I bought a product recently, and I think they physically sent me something in the mail. So somehow they got the address. Don't know how they got it. Mm-hmm. And within that, it was a free, I could get another free product, but I had to go on and just give us, complete a survey. And then they were making me work too hard for it. And I'm like, I'd love the product for nothing, but no, I don't want to log on. I don't know what my password is. I changed it last week, and I stopped. It wasn't SMS, it was paper. With SMS and Messenger and the things that you're doing there, is it simple, fairly automated to make it easy for me, the dumb guy, the customer that can't remember his password?
It is a little bit easier for sure. If you want to direct link a customer through SMS with the Amazon app, it's going to be a little bit easier to update reviews. And I've seen those types of funnels too, where you're sort of being asked to do quite a few things. They're trying to get a sense of your experience, sort of warming you up to the idea of, okay, then what is your eventual feedback, or even asking your feedback there within that process before directing you to the review. Again, that's something you've got to be very careful with too. Amazon, FTC guidelines, all those types of things of kind of pre-vetting a customer before you capture their feedback and send them to leave a review. But yeah, through SMS and other, it's just a lot more convenient at the end of the day for customers to then leave their initial review, then get back in if they want to, go back to their or rate your page, where they can look at any products that they've left a review for and update it from there.
Gotcha. Sorry to get so technical on you folks, but that piece of paper was cool, but it's too much work. Lesson for you sellers out there, or buyers that are going to buy an Amazon business and want to go old school. Go the tech way instead. We're lazy these days. So what's going on for 2021? What's going to change at Amazon, and what are you guys working on to help your clients improve during those changes?
Yeah, I mean, and of course, I've got to drink our Kool-Aid too, in terms of the things that we're doing, the things that we're doing in our business, and having that show up in some of the features and what we want to see in Seller.Tools ourselves. So we're spending in our businesses a disproportionate amount of time on Manychat and DSP, almost exclusively, and rightfully so. I mean, really, the focus on the ranking and reviews, it really helps on both of those objectives as we build our audience, and then we do more unique things with Amazon PPC and the audience information that we can pull out of that, and not moving off Amazon until we get that right. I think that's an important piece for this year, and it's kind of an evergreen. As I think so many sellers are looking at brand building and multi-channel and moving into, at Walmart has been a big point of conversation. I think it's doubling and tripling down on Amazon being the huge focus. And spilling over, making sure that demand is pulling you into those marketplaces versus you pushing and saying, oh, I've got a footprint, but I don't have the, platform know-how. I don't know how to, what levers to pull to make sure that I have all the leverage. Yeah. And then we're doubling down on things like, what is Amazon continuing to reward for ranking factors, and how we can build solutions around it. Things that we're talking about with like review blocks. They're looking at customer quality. How does that translate into features? How do we, really continue to leverage omni-channel, different ways we can engage customers? Because when you own that process, that control is really enticing for big brands. And we want to make it easy for smaller brands too. Like, when you have that control, it's very intimidating. That tends to be the challenge we have to overcome, is how do we educate and empower sellers at every level to where, it seems very complex, but really, you're still rewarding Amazon. You're still leveraging FBA. And that's where our features are going.
And you're going to stick to Amazon for the foreseeable future, but someday, a year, 2, 3 down the road, you'll be on the other platforms as well, you think?
I think we have a few things that we are working on with some of the other big platforms. Kind of interesting stuff. Our team, we have no shortage of ideas. Credit to my team of all entrepreneurs, no shortage of brainstorming, long list of ideas. So there may be some cool things that we do with other really big channels, but I think it won't be what people would expect, which I know is very cryptic, but
it is. You've got a like a secretive little smile on your face. That, that if you turned the camera around, it would all be there on the whiteboard or something like that.
So
it's over there to your right. Okay. Yeah. One last sort of question. Actually, I have two, but the first one is, if you were to, I know I'm not looking for a complete differentiation between Seller.Tools, Helium 10, and Jungle Scout, because in many cases, you and other clients have all three. Define for me again, or for the audience, the key differentiation of Seller.Tools versus those other two. And do you subscribe to, and personally, on the side, do you subscribe to Helium 10 or Jungle Scout? You don't have to tell me which one.
Yeah, no, I do.
I'm sure you do. It's probably research for you too. Though.
Well, yeah. Okay. Probably not in the same way that most people subscribe to other platforms, right. But it's good.
Okay. Key differentiation, Seller.Tools versus the others. I
would say from a top down, in terms of our vision, our tools are geared towards growth. So it's how do you scale an Amazon business? And that really gets us where our strengths lie is a little bit less at the clicking around and finding new products. It's really more once you're on Amazon, what are you doing differently? How are you breaking from the herd? How are you exploiting a competitive advantage? And that tends to lead us to ranking and reviews. And that's, you hear me say it all the time. And I say it with the team all the time too, is this is really where our focus is. And if we get these things right, these outcomes are so crucial. Like I said, I think sellers often forget why they're on Amazon in the first. They're so interested in brand building, which Amazon doesn't really love. So you're sort of like, you have this conflict where you're like, I want to really build a brand, but Amazon really just wants you to serve their customers. So you have this constant conflict, this cognitive dissonance, where it's just like, give Amazon what it wants and win the 800-pound gorilla in the room, then figure everything else out. It's kind of the ultimate 80-20 of e-commerce, in my opinion.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna ask one more question. I'm going to give you a second shot at telling me what DSP stands for. Go.
Oh boy. That's going to bother me all day. I'm going to literally check that. I looked it up.
You've said the word platform.
Okay.
Demand side platform. Does that sound familiar?
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh
right there, right? Demand side platform.
I'm not going to let my team listen to this podcast.
Well, it's tricky. DSP, you'd think display, because, I don't know. Anyway, all right. I just having some fun with you. All right. How do people learn more about Seller.Tools? Where do they go? What do they do? That kind of thing.
Yeah. So you can find us at Seller.Tools and reach out to our support with any questions that you have at hello@Seller.Tools. We've got an awesome Facebook group too called FBA Kings. Just a great place to connect, chat with other sellers. Really awesome community there as well.
Awesome. FBA Kings and Seller.Tools. Troy, thanks for joining us on the Quiet Light podcast, sharing your experience. Let's stay in touch. I want to talk in a couple of years when you've blown this thing up completely and get bought up by some giant private equity firm.
Yep. Sounds great. That's on the board too.
There you go. The board that you're not showing us.
Yeah.
All right, man. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Joe.
And that is a wrap. Thanks, folks. I appreciate you listening once again this week to the Quiet Light podcast, joining in, helping us out by adding more and more reviews. Please, we're now pitching reviews in 2021, as you know. So if you could go to your favorite app, whether it's Stitcher, iTunes, whatever it might be, and pop in and give us a review and a rating. We appreciate each and every one. We read each and every one, and it helps us rank and helps others learn about the value of their businesses, the value of the tools and services like Seller.Tools, who come on and talk about their business and how it's different, when you should probably also subscribe to either Jungle Scout or Helium 10 or both, but also Seller.Tools, because it does something just a little bit different and it's worth the investment. So thanks again. We will see you again next week.